the 32 units. Why wouldn't I want to do that? I've got a group of investors from Malaysia, and I've got Alberta, the province, going to buy the other 132 units. I think that's pretty solid backers there. So consider renting to those people or to corporations. So maybe you want to get into the super suites or executive suites, and you only want to deal with people who are doing corporate relocations, and they're here for 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, and you've got your downtown property and it's furnished, and they come in and they stay in one of your condos at 5 West or the Marquee or McLeod or Eau Claire, okay? And they're paying, you know, usually in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000 a month or more for that. The property managers take 33%, mind you, but you know, it'll still cash flow. So you're finding the right tenants. Okay, let's take a look at what we're doing right now. I take that buy and hold, which is the traditional long-term one, with the buy-sell approach, where I'm doing the rent-to-own, agreement for sale, whatever you want to call it. If you're totally unfamiliar with all these terms, and I know I'm blasting and buying fast, it simply means that somebody on an agreement for sale is agreeing to buy your property 1 year hence at a fixed rate, and they're going to give you so much cash down, and they're going to clean up their credit or, you know, get their act together, whatever it is. Maybe they need 2 years of full NOAs, notice of assessments, to qualify for a mortgage. Or you got a rent-to-own one. We're doing one of our ones in High River on a rent-to-own. They're coming in with 5% of the purchase price, $225,000. They're coming in, that's non-refundable except for a small portion, CMHC and Bank of Canada rules. And they're paying me a certain amount of rent, and they're going to buy me out in 2 years. Great. I get a lot better cash flow. So anyways, what I'm doing is I put my real estate investing really on autopilot, and I get way better cash flows out of it because I'm getting more money. I still get my tax breaks, still get a profit. My equity's locked in because I have a fixed price at the back end. Some people say, well, what if the world blows apart and it's not worth that much in 2 years? Well, you know what? I've got a clause in there. I've got a clause in there that says there's we'll get 2 appraisers in. We'll get them to both appraise it. We'll take the average and let's live with it type of thing. Or you can have just an escape clause that says I'm not selling to you if it goes below this threshold price. But it locks in that appreciation. You get a big check at the back end. Okay, so how do I do that? I blend renting that single homes with the buy and hold with that buy and seller / flipping a house. And you can rent a home under a short-term rent-to-own program. So rent-to-own, what it is, the tenant still has a lease. The tenant buyer pays a large deposit to option the property. They have the option to purchase, but they don't have to purchase. Okay? And they have an agreed upon purchase price at the back end. People moving to a neighborhood or a community might like that because they'll know that, you know what, I can't afford to buy it right now, but in 12 or 24 months, that's the price. I can deal with that. So our goals are simple. I don't have to steal the house to make it work. I'm looking to buy the house for 5 to 10% below value. 3 to 5% is our target all the time, all day long. And I'm going to sell the home when it appreciates 5 to 10%. Okay, I made 10% on that particular, you know, my investment. That's a pretty good turnaround when I'm considering leveraging it 4 or 5 times. To me, it's fairly simple. So the advantages of rent-to-own, I get above market rents. I don't rent it at, I'll use my number of $1,300 anymore. The rent might be $1,300, but I've got an option credit that goes towards the down payment of $200 or $300 or $400 a month tacked onto that. So I get a payment every month of $1,700 a month. And the reason is, what if this person bails after 2 years and doesn't buy it? Well, this is what I do personally. They get 10% of the upfront option money back, and then every month that the option credit, whether it's that $200 or $300, I take 15% of that for my accounting and management fees, so 85% of it goes towards my pay down. Out of that 85%, I'll give them back 10% of that. So I don't want to leave them on the street. They should have enough money to go out and have the next security deposit and some moving costs and all that kind of thing. I basically let them tie up my property for 2 or 3 years where I couldn't sell it or market it, and that's the expense factor back to me. Some people.
You get a better tenant too.
Absolutely, because they have a homeowner mentality, not, okay, I'm going to come here and kick the walls out and leave, you know, that type of thing. So I asked for 5 to 10% down payment up front. It really weeds out the tire kickers. You know, I've seen people doing 2 and 3% and things like that. That's too skinny. If I'm giving up a property that's worth $500,000, $400,000 to somebody who's got $3,000 scraped together and they're going to be able to buy it, ain't going to happen. Not for me anyways. They can go find somebody else. And you're not a landlord again. What I'm looking at is having somebody in there who has a homeowner mentality, not a tenant mentality. That they want to own this place at the back end. I want them to go out there and, yeah, you know what, they painted the fence and did the deck and they mowed the grass. And you know what, they phoned up and said, well, can we change all the faucets in here to some really high-end stuff? Oh, hallelujah, go for it, you know, like, have at her. So there's 6 income streams on rent to own. This is what I like about it. Rather than just having a buy and hold strategy, which has more than one obviously, this is what you get. You get the upfront payments that are non-refundable for the most part. Equity buildup, of course, some tax savings, your capital gains are deferred a little bit. You have some locked-in profit and you get monthly cash flow. So you have 6 revenue streams from one little property. It's amazing.
What's the tax savings?
Well, that just simply means on our expenses. So I'm going to be able to write off any of our expenses as I go along. That's the tax savings that I refer to. So here's a few of the tidbits that I put in there. The tenant is responsible for the first $300 of repair in any given month. Because they're a homeowner or a tenant buyer, just because the toilet got blocked up because the kid's toy fell down there and they had to phone the guy over with the Roto-Rooter to come over and get it, and they were in charge of $140, so sorry, I'm not paying it. You know, when the lights burn out and all the other kind of trivial things, you're the homeowner, look after this thing, drive the costs down and look after it. If you're going to do more than that, great, I'll chip in. Okay, so the hot water tank blows out on it and it was $980 from Home Depot. Okay, $300 you, $680 me. Away we go. And the lease agreement states that tenant's responsible for lawns and driveways and all the rest of it. It's very, very explicit. Even to get into our program right now, what we're doing is we're using just a simple 4-page manual they need to read through to understand what they're doing. Rather than some people who are just out there taking somebody's money. Oh, I got $20,000 mom gave me, I'm going to go and do this rent-to-own thing, and they'll never qualify. They never check with a mortgage broker. They have no hope. The guy who's leasing it to them probably knows that in most cases, you know. Figures, hey, I got 20 grand in my pocket, in 2 years they're out and I'm moving on. You know, I can't live with myself doing that, so I'd rather have success at the back end. So do we weed out a lot of people? Absolutely. So this, of course, is what you see all the time on these landlord and tenant things here is, you know, thanks for paying my mortgage. So do I have 5 minutes to cover those 2 last pages?
Sure.
Okay. So if you have to go, better get going.
Thanks for your shift.
Yeah. Okay, whoops. Right there. So what I did is I handed this out. These are some of the clients that we get. So if you're wondering, how could I work, don't have to work with me, but if I was going to work with somebody, what would I take a look at as far as them purchasing property? This one here that I've got isn't a very good chart. I just kind of threw this one together. Kent has $50,000 sitting in a savings account, and he wants to buy a property, but he doesn't. He's self-employed writer in the city here. So he writes for the Calgary Flames and a whole bunch of other people, okay? But he doesn't have his 2 years NOA, notice of assessment. So he's got $50,000. Today's value of the house is $320,000. It's a pre-foreclosure. We're going to buy it for $310,000, $312,000-ish. Resale price in 1 year's time is $335,000. His down payment is $50,000. The locator fee, if it's me bringing in, the buyer, or if it's an outside investor that has a person, we pay between 1% to 2% finder's fee on that. So if you have somebody that, you know, in that way, hey, we do pay finder's fees. The interest charged, in this case what we're doing is an interest-only payment for 1 year, and we're charging him 7.5% because our investor is using their line of credit at about 2%. So we got a 5.5% interest spread. So the monthly payments are $1,800, mortgage $1,179, our cash flow is about $600 a month. The potential profit, the profit actually on this exact one we're doing is $25,800. And the investor has to come in with $64,000 to get in this case they're going to be looking at a regular mortgage or line of credit, but I just came in with $64,000. Net cash in after everything's all paid out is $20,200. So very good return on investment. They're making about, you know, $25,800 on their net input of $20,200 in 1 year. So that's an agreement for sale. In other words, they have to buy it at the back end. On the other side of the page is a rent-to-own that we're doing, They're coming in with $62,000 as their down payment. This is somebody that says, we're moving from Lethbridge, we're coming to Calgary, we want to buy a property in the next month. We've got $62,000, can you help us find a particular property, we'll buy it in 2 years. They had an excellent coffee shop business in Lethbridge that was running for about the last 5 years. Tim Hortons moved in about 8 months ago. It took 2 months and their business was out. That was it. About 2.5 months and they were gone. And of course, when they bought the location, there was no Tim Hortons. There was never going to be anything there, you know, and in 18 months they were up and running. This one here we take a look at from the bottom is we've got a 3% per year appreciation, so it shows 6% appreciation. Basically what it boils down to is the net profit on this property over 2 years is $31,900, or about 117% of your investment. So again, this is using the rent-to-own model on our investments. So I know that's a lot of information to take in, and I have one last thing to leave you with. And I just finished reading a book called Enough by John Bogle, who was the founder of Vanguard Financial. So for those of you who are buying ETFs and things like that, here's what it is. It's just one paragraph I'll read to you here, and we'll go. At a party given by a billionaire on Shelter Island, Kurt Vonnegut, that's how you pronounce his name, right? Informs his pal, Joseph Hessler, that their host, a hedge fund manager, had made more money that day than Heller had earned from his wildly popular novel Catch-22 over its entire history. Heller's response, yes, but I'll have something he'll never have. And he pauses, enough. And that's it. Thank you very much.